Hello, I'm going to be discussing what UNC's copy of Paradise Lost by John Milton offers to the audience. This item, published in 1668, includes the story itself accompanied by several instances of margin notes written by an unknown source. These markings are in pen throughout the book, but especially in the frontal flyleaves before the title page. There are many other physical characteristics of this work that will be covered, such as the conditions, smell, and style of the book. Paradise Lost is a free-verse poem that details the story of Adam and Eve from the Genesis section of the Roman Catholic Bible. The story starts with the banishment of Satan to hell and moves through the plot against God and humanity. Mankind's downfall and exposure to death and sin are described towards the end as Eve is tempted by the serpent to eat the forbidden fruit. While somewhat of a religious work, Paradise Lost is also an entertaining epic with a dynamic plot and character dilemmas. John Milton was born in London, England on December 9, 1608, to John Milton Sr. and Sarah Milton. He studied at Christ's College, Cambridge, to join the ranks in priesthood. He abandoned this path early on and began traveling throughout Europe, writing poetry and studying religion. As an admirer of Puritanism and Oliver Cromwell, he wrote several poems and short stories advocating his cause during the English Civil War. After marrying and losing 3 wives, and being held in jail for his work with the Commonwealth, Milton wrote Paradise Lost, his biggest success. He died on November 8, 1674. There is a humbling feeling when we read an old primary source that has been through many pairs of hands. Handwritten texts in particular make one realize that, whoa, people of a different age wrote in and handled this book. It's interesting to see the influence of others in today's society. In this particular case, the physical details in UNC's copy of Paradise Lost expand on Milton's main themes in the actual poem. There is more to capture from the item itself than other hard copies of the work or publication online. As we look at the notes on the sides of the page, we see that there are clues to how other readers, likely from over a few centuries ago, interpreted and used this item. It is not obvious what these numbers mean. They are likely references to other places in the book or to other works themselves. This type of marginalia is scarce, showing up every 40 to 50 pages or so. Examples of these notes cannot be found in an online edition of Paradise Lost, or in other hard copies. On the title page, there is a short signature with pen. While it is difficult to make out, it appears to read Alberti Fabrici. While other instances of marginalia could and likely do exist in other copies, the same cannot be found. Each example of notes offers its own interpretation to the reader. Now we come to one of the most interesting parts of this item. Here, on one of the frontal flyleaves before the title page, is a famous poem in English followed by several sections written in a different language, including Latin. The English section is a handwritten poem with an unknown author. 3 poets in 3 distinct ages born. Greece, Italy, and England did adorn. The first in loftiness of thought surpassed, the next in majesty, in both the last. The force of nature could no further go. This poem was originally written by John Dryden in the 17th century. The poem is largely associated with Milton. Many paintings of Milton are captioned by this exact poem. In the poem, the author talks about 3 poets. These refer to Homer, Virgil, and Milton, who are from Greece, Italy, and England, respectively. The poem mentions how John Milton, the most modern, is a combination of the skills of the prior 2 poets. This poem is structured significantly different from contemporary grammar and spelling. A reader would not get this experience online or perhaps in other copies. There are also 7 underlined words that don't appear to correlate to anything except for the poets themselves and their home countries. This particular item captures Dryden's work from an unknown note-taker. The theme of the poem praises Milton in a way before Milton's actual poem even begins. It is likely that most readers will read Milton's poem a little differently after reading Dryden's poem first. The reader gets a sense of Milton's style before starting. The other sections are difficult to make out legibly. While they appear to be in Latin, the writing style seems older than modern Latin. There are many symbols in the letters that could possibly change the meaning of the word. From what I was able to translate, I gathered phrases such as beauty and 3 will be 1. There were also several pronouns such as people and places I had never heard of, and oftentimes didn't return any results online. It could be because I translated them incorrectly, or it could pertain to the individual who wrote the notes in the book. There are other characteristics besides the marginalia that make this copy of Paradise Lost unique. The physical condition of the item suggests some significant ideas about how it was interpreted. The front and back covers of the book were completely dislocated from the text. This is evident that it was handled by many people in its history. The spine's integrity is also diminished from excessive use. These aspects of the book's degradation may relate to the time period it was published in. The late 17th century was marked by a period of religious dispute in England and surrounding Europe. There were disagreements between the Church of England, the Puritans, and the Roman Catholics. These disagreements often led to a revolutionist movement, political reform, and discrimination. Milton's Paradise Lost dealt with the works of the Roman Catholic Bible. To some, this was blasphemy. Surely the book was looked upon negatively by some of those who supported other religions and fought diligently for what they believed in. Perhaps this book was mistreated on behalf of its religious content. If someone were to read a different copy of the same work in pristine condition, there would have been no connection to the book's history on account of its physical condition. In relation to the item's condition, the pages were wrinkled and folded throughout. This suggests that the pages were exposed to moisture at some point in the book's lifetime. As a result, there was a smell of mildew in the pages. This can also be tied into the history of the treatment of the book. Its treatment could be an attempt to damage the contents of the religious story. Words and ideas are often altered in translation. This item was published in the year after Milton finished writing the poem. Because of this, the book is likely very close, if not exact, to how the original author wrote the story. The words and organization of sections is probably consistent with Milton's original work. Paradise Lost can be found online and in hard copies published in this century, but some things can be interpreted differently. This is similar to how Shakespeare's sonnets are worded very differently from the modern interpretations found in textbooks. In the modern presentations of the text, it is somewhat up to the publisher to decide how the audience will read the work instead of the original author. In this copy of Paradise Lost, there are many old-style characteristics of writing, such as in the long form of the letter S, the use of apostrophes and other different spellings of words, and an odd way of ending sections with a giant "the" that are not present in some modern interpretations of the same work. The lack of these components of the original potentially takes away from some of Milton's original themes of the poem. John Milton included several themes in his work, Paradise Lost, including the difference between light and dark, the obedience to God, and the decline of man. While these ideas can still be found in all adaptations of the original work, this copy has underlying details that assist in and expand on Milton's ideas. The condition, style, and added insight by an unknown reader allow other audiences to take more away from Milton's original themes. Thank you.